Thank you for coming out. This is a meeting about the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE Superfund site. We are from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in Region 7. My name is Amelia Holcomb. If there's any elected officials present, would you mind just introducing yourselves?
I'm Carl Voss. I'm one of the at-large council members, Des Moines City Council members.
Great. Thank you for coming out. Like I said, my name is Amelia Holcomb. I am the Community Involvement Coordinator for this site. So my goals are to engage with the community, keep you all informed of planned EPA activities, and listen to feedback. One thing I want to highlight is that I can coordinate grants specifically for independent technical advisors to work with community groups on explaining reports, site conditions, and work. So I have more information on that table in the back. We'll have time to have discussions about that after this presentation if you want more info. Now I'd like to introduce you to our other presenters for the evening. We have Lauren Murphy. Lauren is the Remedial Project Manager for this site. As the Remedial Project Manager, or RPM, she's responsible for managing all the project objectives and the project team, and she serves as the site's primary point of contact for EPA. Next, we have Kamud Pakarel. Kamud is EPA Region 7's National Priorities List Coordinator. He evaluates site conditions to determine if a site should be proposed to the National Priorities List of contaminated sites. With that, I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Thank you, Amelia. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Lauren Murphy, and I'm the Remedial Project Manager for the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site. This evening, we'll be presenting a short summary of the history and background of the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site, current site conditions, an overview of the Superfund process and what it means to place a site on the National Priorities List, and how members of the public can submit their comments regarding the site's proposed MPL designation. Before we get to that, though, I would like to share tonight's key takeaways with you. First, and most importantly, we want you all to know that Des Moines water meets all safe drinking water standards, and there is no immediate threat to human health or the environment. That's why we're here tonight and taking action at the site so that we can work on remediating the contamination before it becomes a risk to the public drinking water supply. Also, keep in mind that you can still recreate in the park and enjoy products from the businesses at and around the site as you normally would. Our next key point, EPA, together with the Des Moines Water Works, will continue monitoring the groundwater contamination and water supply source. If at any point before remediation begins, the data from our continued monitoring indicates a change in the situation, we have the authority to act immediately to prevent unsafe drinking water conditions. Number 3, EPA has proposed that the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site be added to the National Priorities List of contaminated sites. By doing so, we will be able to protect the public drinking water supply and restore the groundwater to beneficial use. Lastly, the public has the opportunity to comment on the EPA's proposed addition of the site to the National Priorities List. Comments for the Lot 46 site's proposal to the MPL will be accepted through November 6th and can be submitted via the Federal e-Rulemaking Portal, EPA's MPL agency website, or regular written mail. So I briefly went over tonight's presentation topics in our previous slide, but here's a breakdown just as a reminder for you all. We'll begin tonight's discussion going over the site location and our concerns at the site. Then you will hear from Kamud, who will be giving an introduction to the Superfund process and the National Priorities List. And then I'll be back to share instructions on how you all, members of the public, can submit official comments regarding EPA's proposal to the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site to the National Priorities List. So with that, I will go ahead and get us started with the site's location. So the general location of our site is approximately 1.5 miles southwest of downtown, and our site boundaries here are indicated in red. As of 2022, the population within the city limits of Des Moines was approximately 212,000 people. Land use at our site, again highlighted in red, is zoned for light industrial, heavy commercial, as well as parklands. So this image provides an aerial view of our site a little bit more zoomed in. Again, we have the site boundaries indicated in red. The site is bounded to the east by Fleur Drive, to the south by Bell Avenue, and to the north and west by the Raccoon River right here. Just to the north of the site, we have the Des Moines Waterworks Fleur Treatment Plant. This plant gets its water from an underground infiltration gallery that runs parallel to the Raccoon River, and that is highlighted here in the light blue. So the infiltration gallery is similar to a French drain system. If you aren't familiar with these types of systems, they typically consist of a trench with a perforated pipe that is surrounded by sand and gravel, which allows water to pass through it. The Des Moines Waterworks infiltration gallery spans nearly 3 miles and is situated approximately 30 to 40 feet below the ground surface. The sand and gravel around the gallery conduits help filter out silt, algae, bacteria, and other unwanted materials. Both river and groundwater contribute to this infiltration gallery system, with river water contributing approximately 85% of the total water in the infiltration gallery system, and groundwater contributing the other 15%. Groundwater flow direction at the site is indicated here with the blue arrow and flows in a northwesterly direction towards the river. Moving on to our site concern, the primary contaminant of concern we're looking at the Lot 46 site is trichloroethylene, or TCE for short. This is an industrial solvent used in a myriad of industrial commercial processes, such as parts cleaning or paint and spot removal. It is found in groundwater or soil when it's manufactured, used, or disposed of improperly. TCE naturally breaks down in groundwater into its daughter products, shown here in the image on the right. At the Lot 46 site, we have a contaminated groundwater plume that is approximately 1/2 mile long and 1/4 mile wide that extends northwest in the direction of groundwater flow towards the Raccoon River. So this is what our contaminated groundwater plume looks like, as I just described. We have different colors here that indicate the estimated level of concentration within the shaded area. So this plume here indicates our TCE contamination at the site. Again, we have the Des Moines Waterworks infiltration gallery here highlighted in this light blue area. And as I mentioned previously, TCE breaks down naturally into breakdown products or daughter products, and one of those is cis 1,2-DCE. So again, we have our plume here, infiltration gallery highlighted in light blue here, and it's moving in a northwesterly direction towards the river with groundwater flow. So what the two previous images show, those two plume maps, is that TCE and its breakdown products, cis 1,2-DCE, are present in the groundwater and have migrated towards the infiltration gallery. As far as current site conditions, both TCE and cis 1,2-DCE have been detected in samples collected from the Des Moines Waterworks infiltration gallery along the Raccoon River. However, both contaminants have been detected at levels well below the respective maximum contaminant levels. So these tables here, we have our contaminant of concern, we have TCE, and then its breakdown products here, the maximum contaminant levels as established by the EPA, and the most recent sampling data we received from Des Moines Waterworks. Additionally, trace amounts of cis 1,2-DCE have been detected in finished product water from the Des Moines Fleur Treatment Plant. Again, this is one of TCE's breakdown products. At this point, you might be wondering what is a maximum contaminant level, or MCL. Maximum contaminant levels are enforceable drinking water standards set by the EPA. All contaminants that have been deemed unsafe by EPA have their own maximum contaminant levels, or MCLs. A maximum contaminant level is the highest quantity of the contaminant that should be found in drinking water. And all public water systems must adhere to the EPA's maximum contaminant levels when treating water for public consumption. Again, as you can see in our most recent sample data, the concentrations of contaminants that we've seen in the Des Moines Waterworks infiltration gallery, as well as the finished product water from the Fleur Treatment Plant, remain well below the respective regulatory and enforceable levels. Following the Superfund process and adding the site to the national priorities list will ensure that we have the resources and tools to remediate the contamination before it becomes a risk to the public drinking water supply. To go over the Superfund process and the national priorities list proposal, I will now turn it over to Kamut.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Lauren. Thanks, everybody. Can you all hear me? Okay. So as Lauren mentioned, I'm the National Priorities List Coordinator for this region. I do want to make a point before I begin my talk. I have a couple, 3 slides. Before I came here, I was at the hotel, about 3-hour drive. Wouldn't you say about 3-hour drive? Came up, I was really thirsty. And I got a cup, filled it up with tap water, and drank it. So it's great. Water is safe to drink. I just want to make that point. Yes, ma'am. So what is the NPL? Okay, let me in the next couple of slides try to answer that. I know several of you know what it is, but so basically what's going on at this site is this. We're in this assessment phase, right? So Superfund remedial process basically starts here once the site is discovered, and as we go through the process, we do an initial preliminary assessment, additional site inspection, more assessments basically, and then we deemed at that point that there's contamination there and potential threats. Then we place the site on national priorities list. What that allows for is funds, federal funds to address contamination, if any, found at the site. So that's what we're trying to accomplish here. So we're in the assessment phase. We're now actually proposing this site on the national priorities list. And you might wonder, what is NPL, right? So you may or may not have heard of the Superfund program. It's the law. It's also known, actually CERCLA is the actual law. It's also known as Superfund. CERCLA stands for Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act. And is that a mouthful? And it basically gives the federal government authority to clean up hazardous waste sites. It was enacted in 1980, and it really was established. What it established was a fund to address all these different uncontrolled sites at the time. We had a lot of legacy sites. Some of you may be old enough to remember that. So anyway, we're using that authority to put this site on the national priorities list, and its goal really is to be protective of human health and the environment by cleaning up the source of contamination. Secondly, involve the communities, and this is one of our process, right? Involve the communities around it in the cleanup process. And finally, return the previously polluted land, if any, or contamination, back to protective use. So that's basically the big gist of what we're trying to accomplish. And Lauren, Amelia, myself, we'll be here afterwards, after our presentations, to ask questions or concerns you might have. We'll do our best to address those. Okay. So next thing here. So what are national priorities list? So NPL is a list of national priorities among the known releases or threatened releases of hazardous substances, pollutants, and contaminants throughout the United States. Hazard ranking system is a mathematical model that EPA uses, Superfund program uses, in placing sites on the national priorities list. If it meets the criteria, there's a 28.5 is a number. If it's above that, then you qualify for NPL. Not all sites that score over 28.5 get listed on the NPL. At that point, we determine what is of priority. In our region, the Region 7, there are about approximately 100 NPL sites. And what it does is it evaluates 4 pathways: soil and vapor intrusion pathway, groundwater pathway, surface water pathway, and air migration pathway. So in our case, in this case, we're using the groundwater pathway to determine that this site is needed to be placed on the national priorities list to properly clean up the site. And then finally, so it was proposed on September 7th. That kind of sounds good. September 7th, we have 60-day comments period, and you can go to, so you can go to Federal Register website here and submit your questions or comments on that National Priorities List document. It's called the HRS doc record, documentation record. This is the docket number, and some of you may have noticed that there's a QR code. You can press on the QR code. It will take you to our website, site website, and you can navigate to the comments link. With that, I'm going to give it back to Lauren.
Yep.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you, Kamid. All right. So we kind of gave you a preview of our next slide. So, as members of the public, we encourage you all to participate in our decision processes, and specifically tonight, the proposal of the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site to the National Priorities List. Comments to the proposed rule will be accepted through Monday, November 6, 2023. That's the 60 days following the September 7th publishing of the proposal in the Federal Register. So, members of the public have 3 different methods to submit their written comments. First here, number 1, is the Federal e-rulemaking portal, and this is the preferred method. You can either use the web address shown here on the slide, or you can actually, as you're sitting in the audience, hold your mobile device up to the QR code here, and it'll instantly take you to the e-rulemaking portal. Then you'll just follow instructions on how to submit your comments on the page there. This will be the quickest and easiest method. However, we do have 2 other options for you here. You can go on our agency website here. You can scroll down to the site for which you would like to submit your comments, and then click the Comment Now link. And additionally, if you're a little bit more old school, we also accept written comments via regular mail, and you can mail those comments to the address shown here at the bottom of your screen. Regardless of the method you choose, it's important that you include the site's NPL proposal docket ID number. So for this site and this proposal, that's going to be EPA-HQ-OLEM-2023-0384. It's important to note, please, that any comments received may be posted without change to www.regulations.gov, including any personal information you provide. So again, the quickest and easiest method to submit your comments will be the Federal e-rulemaking portal. Again, you can use the link or just take a picture of the QR code there. The mobile screen might look a little bit different. This is a desktop version, but you'll select the comment button here. Again, just confirm that you're on the right one. You'll have a docket ID just to make sure you know, just to confirm that you're on the right site, and then you can just submit your comments. Again, I just kind of circled here in red, or in yellow, excuse me, that the deadline for all those comments are November 6, 2023. Additionally, if you go on this site, you can also read other submitters' comments as well if you'd like to read those.
For your comment to count, however, you can't tell us comments today verbally. It has to be submitted
In written format.
written format.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. Okay, so tonight we've provided a short summary of our history and background of the site, the current site conditions, an overview of the Superfund process and the national priorities list, and how you all, members of the public, may submit comments and provide your input regarding the site's proposed NPL designation. Before we conclude tonight's presentation, I just want to kind of circle back to our key takeaways here. Again, number one, most importantly, contamination at the site poses no immediate threat to human health or the environment.
Could you go back to that slide where you have the plume?
I'd be happy to answer your question after our presentation. We'll just wrap this up, but we're going to be around till 7:30, and we can pull that back up, or we actually have a printed version out front, and we can talk out there. Again, no immediate threat to human health or the environment, and your drinking water meets all safe drinking water regulatory standards. Secondly, the EPA, along with the Des Moines Water Works, will continue to monitor the contamination at the site, and if the situation changes based on our data, we have the authority to act immediately to address it and prevent unsafe drinking water conditions. Thirdly, EPA has proposed the Lot 46 Valley Gardens TCE site to be added to the national priorities list of contaminated sites. Our mission is to protect human health and the environment, and taking action now ensures that we protect Des Moines' drinking water supply. Lastly, the public has the opportunity, and we encourage them to comment on EPA's proposed addition of the site to the national priorities list. Deadline for comments will be November 6, 2023, and you can submit your comments again through the three methods I went over, either by the federal e-rulemaking portal, EPA's MPL agency website, or by regular mail. And with that, I will turn it over to Amelia.
Thank you. Like Lauren said, we'll be sticking around till 7:30. We can address questions. We have some maps back there. We can have discussions. This is my contact info. I'll also be showing mine and Lauren's contact info together, and we have business cards out here in the back as well. Thank you all for making it out, and I'm just going to leave the slide up with the QR code and instructions for submitting public comments. We also have little printouts of the QR code at the table in the back if you'd like to just grab one on your way out.
You're not going to take group Q&A?
We'll have the individual discussions now. Yeah. Thank you.
For those that didn't